Hello, Cornhusker fans. Welcome to the Five Heart Podcast. This is Todd Wolverton, your temporary host, as we wait for Greg to join us. He had kid duty this evening. I'm joined by the ever exciting, dashing, dumbass looking, do-rag wearing founder of Coronation, Jon Johnston. Jon, it must be cold in Minneapolis right now because of your head attire.
Does this make me look fat?
No, I look fat without wearing a head thing. You don't look fat. You look like some kind of a wannabe biker, gangbanger, whatever you want to call it, guy.
A miscreant of society. Is that what you're trying to say?
Miscreant would be good. Miscreant.
Maybe you shouldn't judge people so harshly, Todd, you fucker.
Well, maybe I shouldn't, but turnabout is fair play, the way I look at it. So I had to
you know what? It is getting cold. And as if you notice, I have my heavy robe on. And we don't turn the heat up early in the winter.
I did notice that. I'm actually way, as we broadcast this, as we record this, I'm way out in western Nebraska in Scotts Bluff. And yesterday it got into the mid 70s, and today it was in the 60s. So it is a incredibly mild fall out here where the cattle outnumber human beings like 100-1.
Have you talked to people about Scott Frost?
Out here, no, I haven't. But I did see Scotts Bluff Monument, and I saw Chimney Rock.
Wow,
but I have not. I've been in schools. I'm doing my job, and I have not had opportunity to talk Husker football, other than the fact that people do still enjoy driving all the way into Lincoln and watching the beloved Huskers play.
Speaking of the beloved Huskers playing, we're recording early this week because all of our schedules are just crap. And so Nebraska just got done losing to Creighton. Should I talk about basketball for 2 minutes?
Why don't you talk about? I'll give you 5. I'll give you 5 minutes to talk about Nebraska basketball.
I did do an instant reaction video on YouTube. Maybe Greg can turn that into a podcast too. But it's disappointing to lose to Creighton. But the thing is, Nebraska came out. I think they scored the first 5 points, and then Creighton went on a tear. And at one point led 25-10. And a large part of that was because Lonzo Verge started as our point guard. And he does me ball. He does hero ball. He's dribble, shoot guy. And he really has to learn how to assist. He has to learn to move the ball around, because when he's doing his dribble, shoot crap, the rest of the basketball team just stands there and kind of watches him. And that, I don't think they help him much. And we really need him when it comes to Big Ten play. So I think Hoiberg right now is starting him. So he gets him on the floor and says, this is not what I want you to do. Because right after they got up like 25-10, Kobe Webster came in the game, and the entire complexion of the game changed. Nebraska caught up, was behind at one point. I think it was 36-35, but they went on to lose. What is it, 77-69? But it turned into be a really good game to watch. Creighton has some good players that just made their shots. They shot better than Nebraska did overall. But I think you see flashes of absolute brilliance from the Nebraska team, and it's important that we figure out what our lineups are before Big Ten play. So
flashes of brilliance, a term that I've used to describe the offense on the football team.
Yeah.
Now, Jon, what you're describing here sounds very similar to what I heard you guys talk about last year relative to basketball. I am horrible with names, but the complexion changed a great deal when the young man that graduated from Boys Town that was, played well, he actually played out here in Scotts Bluff in junior college when he was on the floor. And
Teddy Buckets.
There you go. Very similar to what you're describing with Verge on the floor. And when he was off the floor, the complexion of the game changed.
Yeah, the thing about having guys like Alonzo Verge or Teddy Buckets last year, is they can tend to take over a game, but they tend to be a lot about themselves. And here's the key. Last year when we had that guy playing, we needed people who could score, and he provided that when we were in droughts. This year, we have plenty of people who can score. We have a lot of depth, I think, in terms of just pure shooters. They haven't all taken off yet, but I think the key is you have enough guys that can shoot the ball well that you're going to have a guy that's going to be hot on any given night. So what they need to do better than they've done before under Fred Hoiberg is distribute the ball and move it around. And that's what they haven't done under Hoiberg. And a part of that is getting this team that's still a young team. I mean, there's a lot of new faces to get the chemistry right, to get the lineups right, to get them used to playing with each other again before we go into Big Ten play, because that's where this counts.
Now, I saw something on Twitter that Trey McGowan's apparently has a broken foot.
Yes, that sucks.
That's a setback.
I love watching him play. Number one, he's the key. Why Kobe Webster came on the floor in the game changes because Kobe Webster has experience. You know what I mean? He knows like Walker a little bit better, or Lat Mayan. He knows those guys and what they're going to do. So he's a little bit more experienced playing Nebraska's offense under Fred Hoiberg and basketball for Nebraska. So, McGowan has spent a year here. Trey McGowan has spent a year here. And losing him, I think, is going to hurt. But again, that just means that Alonzo Verge is going to have to, pick it up a little bit faster. Well, the other disappointing thing about the game is that Bryce McGowan's the NBA lottery kid, the 5-star recruit kid, only had, I think, 6 points, but he didn't get the ball. They didn't give him the ball. They didn't distribute the ball. So you got to do that to one of your best players.
Well, there's no question that Coach Hoiberg, has the wisdom and the experience necessary to make the adjustments that need to be made. And, it still is early in the season. This is only the third time that this team's been out on the floor together when it matters. So hopefully we start to see them, that chemistry that you described earlier, hopefully that chemistry develops a little bit and the team, starts playing a little bit better than what we've seen so far in the early part of the season. So anything else you want to say about basketball, John?
No, I think they're going to be fun to watch. I look forward to watching basketball this year, mostly because I don't really have any expectations. You know what I mean? I mean, we're the worst power program in history. So you just got to watch and you go, the thing about this is you can watch, and if we're good, it's going to be fun because we have some fun players to watch. And if we're not good, I guess you don't let it piss you off for a week, which can sometimes happen with football. You're all just walking around in a malaise. So, I think we're going to, I hope people watch because, because I guess having hope for a good basketball team is better than just sitting around bitching. Coming up with the same fucking arguments to bitch about Scott Frost and the football team over and over and over.
Well,
if nothing else,
we'll have a chance to do that in a few minutes. But also it's that time of year. And we do need, I think, to give a shout out to Amy Williams and the women's basketball team. They're off to a good start in their non-conference play. Just reading a little bit about some of their games, it sounds like they've got some exciting young players on that team. And, so I think that they're worth watching. And I hope that Nebraska fans do tune in when they have opportunity, to watch the women play. Wrestling season has started. Nebraska participated in what they're calling the Nebraska duels, where they wrestled kind of a round robin with Kearney State and Chadron State. And, Kearney State is currently ranked 2 in the nation in Division II. Chadron State has had good wrestlers. Nebraska beat both of them handily last week, to no surprise, and they should. They're the number 9th ranked team in Division I. But they won handily, and they wrestled quite a few reserves at times to give some guys some mat time and take a look at them under the bright lights. Tomorrow night, Nebraska hosts North Carolina from the ACC. North Carolina is coached by Coleman Scott. And I'm not sure if Kenny Monday is still there as an assistant or not, but, good quality coaching. And they had a national champion last year. O'Connor, who will wrestle, I think, at 157. So there'll be some good matches tomorrow night, and hopefully Cornhusker wrestling fans will show up and support the team. And so that's all happening as we speak. Volleyball has had a little bit of a roller coaster the last couple of weeks, but they have won their last 2 games against Maryland and Indiana. And I think they have 3 or 4 conference games left before the regionals start. So there's a lot happening with Husker athletics. However, all of that fails in comparison to the excitement that happened today, which is a total and complete surprise. The Nebraska baseball schedule for 2022 was released. My heart goes pitter-patter. I wasn't aware that it was going to happen today. And one of our fellow Corn Nation members, Aaron, was all excited about it as well. But we're not going to dissect the schedule by any means, but it is.
I didn't see it. Is it better than Iowa's schedule?
Much better than Iowa's. We're not playing any high school teams. No high school teams. Nebraska's not playing any Division III teams, and they are not playing any Division II teams. All of the games that Nebraska is playing this year are against Division I teams. It's interesting, though, because, you know, in the past, you usually counted on Nebraska starting the season with 3 different Southern trips. And when Coach Erstead was in charge, it seemed like they were always going to Arizona and California. And now that you got Coach Bolt, well, guess what? They are going to go to Texas. But they're only going down there for a couple of weekends. And they're going to play 6 games in 4 days against Sam Houston down in Huntsville, Texas. And then they turn around the next weekend and they're going to play a 3-game series in Arlington against Texas Christian, TCU. Good baseball programs, both of them. But here's what's interesting. Once March rolls around, Nebraska is hosting teams 3 of the 4 weekends in March, including San Diego State coming the first weekend of March. Good quality baseball. The Dirtbags from Long Beach State. Long Beach State is coming to play in Lincoln, Nebraska, the second weekend of March. And so what that says is Nebraska has arrived, and they are able to attract warm weather, good caliber baseball teams to come to Lincoln, Nebraska and play. And hopefully we know what March can look like. March is a crapshoot. So
that's really different.
It is. It is different. And I don't have obviously I can't remember it all, but Texas Corpus Christi is going to come up and play in March. I don't know who the other March series is against that where they will travel. But anyway, so that's the excitement. Greg has joined us. He looks bewildered. He says, why the hell are they talking about Sam Houston, Long Beach State, the Dirtbags? Well, it's because Todd and Jon are here and we're talking baseball. We waited for you. Jon covered basketball. I covered wrestling. It's time to talk football, and you're here.
I honestly, I think one of the first words that I heard when I joined in was dirtbag. So I just thought y'all were talking about me.
Well,
it's a twofer.
That's what I'm here for.
How are you, Greg? How are things in Illinois right now?
Well, I'll tell you one bonus, perhaps the only bonus to living in the state of Illinois, aside from the fact that my family's here, is that the state of Illinois currently does not tax your retirement accounts, your IRAs and such. I mean, they'll tax everything else out the ass, but we're holding on to that. So
you're saying that when I retire for a second time in the state of Nebraska, maybe Illinois might be a destination for Todd Wolverton.
I'd be more than happy to see you here in the great land of Lincoln.
There you go.
So,
well, Greg, we have not talked about Nebraska football.
Yeah.
What's on your mind relative to Nebraska football?
I think the couple things that we learned since last week. At least I want to make sure that my timeline's accurate. So if I'm wrong, Nate Gary's played his last game in a Husker uniform. And
JoJo Doman.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Nate Gary played his last
too.
game about 3 years ago.
Holy shit, man. That was like a senior moment.
From the youngin', John, the youngin' fucked up.
It's all the gray hair. Look, we're recording this on what is essentially the early bird special of the week. It's Tuesday. All right. We usually record this at the 11th hour. We're recording this on Tuesday. So my brain is thinking that I'm already 80 years old. But you're right. JoJo Doman has played his last game as a Cornhusker. And the shitty part about it is I didn't see any Big Ten weekly honors, but if that guy wasn't defensive player of the week after the Ohio State game, then there are grave injustices in this world. What a phenomenal game he had against the Buckeyes a week and a half back. I think he forced a fumble, had the interception, had a couple nice pass breakups. He's been doing it all along. I asked the question several times, and I've always been surprised by the answers, especially since, the other option is or was or has been in the NFL. But, you get to pick between Nate Gary or JoJo Doman. And resoundingly, John especially has been, JoJo Doman. I hear a baby crying, so I'm going to have to go. That's why and it's literally right above my head. So it's been fun. Go Big Red, and I'll try to be back later.
Okay.
We'll keep your seat warm there, Greg.
Thanks. See you guys.
Well, John, he brings up, kind of an interesting point there. A couple of things relative to JoJo Doman. It's sad to see his career end before the last two games because Lord knows Nebraska could use him against Wisconsin and Iowa. There's absolutely no question. But, here's a guy who has played at Nebraska during arguably, the worst run of seasons that we've had. But the guy has, I've used this expression before, you carry him out on his shield. He has been a warrior. He has been, he's given everything I think that you could ask from him, and Greg threw the question out there, JoJo Doman, Nate Gary. For me, it's easy. I don't think JoJo Doman was ever ejected from any games because of stupid ass hits, whether they're out of bounds by, 5 yards or whether he led with his helmet like Nate Gary tended to do from time to time. So for me, it's not an argument. I'll take JoJo Doman over Nate Gary anytime.
Yeah, I think the thing about Doman, he was one of those guys that you knew wasn't going to quit ever. And I guess we're going to see Isaac Gifford in his place. And, there's been a lot of people commenting and lamenting like, oh, we're going to lose so many good defensive players. Well, the key to having a good program is next man up is going to be the guy that makes you forget that JoJo Doman was here. And that may sound mean, but you hope that Isaac Gifford is up to the task because who was it? Jerry Seinfeld said we root for the uniform. That just sounds horrible, doesn't it?
I'll tell you what, I'd like to think that's who we root for. I mean, I've always been the guy who, team before me. But, even then when you say that, I think both of us, and we've done this on different podcasts from time to time, we certainly have our favorites. We have those players that wore the scarlet and cream that rise above all others. And, if I were to rank my top 50 Cornhuskers, is JoJo Doman going to be on that list? Probably not, but at least I don't think
in the 50
top 50. Maybe. Okay. How about I'll just throw that wishy-washy maybe out there.
Okay.
But when you talk about what are you going to call JoJo Doman, nickelback, you're going to call him a linebacker. What are you going to call him? And I don't know, but certainly within the last 4 or 5 years, he's been one of the absolute top players that Nebraska has had. There's no question in my mind. I'll take Randy Gregory and Kenny Walker as pass rushers over him anytime. But
yeah.
And
have you seen Randy Gregory play?
I have done everything I can to avoid watching the Dallas Cowboys because I hate them. But I am told that Randy Gregory this season has been just an absolute beast. I mean, it's incredible the way he's been playing.
He's been a force.
Yeah.
I mean, you watch him play and you realize why they kept him around after all the problems he's had. And you kind of just watch it even for a quarter. You're like, holy shit.
But, John, when Randy Gregory was at Nebraska, there was that era. I mean, Randy Gregory and Ndamukong Suh, those two guys, same era. Either one of those guys could take over a game. Either one of those guys could influence the outcome of the game. No question. And what surprises me about Randy Gregory, again, I haven't seen him play this year, but being out as long as he has, I guess maybe on the positive, that saved a little wear and tear on his body, maybe. But he's not a spry young man anymore, and to be playing at the level that he's playing at, that's pretty incredible.
Thinking about Wisconsin, could JoJo Doman have taken over that game? Of course he could have. If when you deal in hypotheticals, everything turns out your way. But it would have been nice to see him against Wisconsin because Wisconsin's a team that I did a Wisconsin podcast earlier today. And, at the beginning of the season, Wisconsin was a mess. They really were. They were just a shit team. Their offensive line was terrible. Jalen Berger was dismissed from the team, a 4-star running back that they were counting on. Graham Mertz was a turnover machine. Their defense was good, but Wisconsin was a mess. They're no longer a mess. They have 6 straight wins. And, one of the reasons, why do you think that is, Todd? Why do you think Wisconsin is suddenly got their shit together?
I think because they have a system that works, and it just took time, for all of the parts to sync together and move in the same direction. The offensive linemen have figured it out. Graham Mertz, turnover machine, but finally, apparently he is recognizing what the defense has given him, and he's taken advantage of it.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. Do you think it's because the coaches made adjustments for the players that they had, or because they have a system and they know what their identity is and that's what they're going to form themselves around?
I think both. Both.
Yeah, but I'm making you pick one.
Okay, I'm going to pick the system.
Okay, you are?
Yeah, I am. Because, the Wisconsin offense. We're talking offense. I mean, because the Wisconsin defense has been strong. They've been better than good. They've been strong all season. So let's talk offense. And, I'm going to hedge a smidge here because I think that at some point they recognized what Graham Mertz can do and what he can't do. They probably quit asking him to do the things that he's shown he can. And they really focused on, they simplified what they're doing within the system that they have in place. When you watch Wisconsin play, they don't look any different. They didn't look any different last week or the week before than they did 4 or 5 years ago. It's the same offense. They've just said, okay, tear that page out, tear that out. They're not asking Graham Mertz to do as much as they did, in my opinion.
Well, let's think about that.
They've recognized that Graham Mertz isn't the first team all Big Ten quarterback that they thought he was going to be when they put him out there on the field his freshman year.
Okay, you compare that to Nebraska. Nebraska started out this season losing to Illinois, and they've lost a bunch of one-score games since. We didn't adjust. We didn't do anything. We didn't figure it out. What is the difference? Why did Wisconsin figure it out and Nebraska's offense hasn't? You think it's all about?
Well, you're going to go back to that, and I hate this term, but it's because Nebraska doesn't have an identity. They don't have a system. You know, every game, that offense looks different. Every game, don't they, John? I mean,
yeah, they do. You watched them. My thing about that, I remember my post-reaction video for Illinois. I complained about the fact that Illinois' defense sold out completely against the run, and we ran zero. We almost ran no misdirection plays whatsoever. And then later in the season, we suddenly start seeing option stuff. Well, if you're going to fucking do that, why didn't you do that? Why weren't you prepared to do that against Illinois?
Well, and then even then, John, the option is kind of ebbed and flowed. You know, the last game we didn't, Ohio State, we didn't see the option used to the same extent that it was previously. And again, I said it last.
I realize if I have 50 Hot Wheel cars, I want to play with all of the Hot Wheel cars, not just my favorite Hot Wheel car.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Tim Beck. Thank you, Sean Watson. Thank you, Scott Frost. We understand that you are brilliant offensive minds, and your playbook is thicker than anybody else's. And you have more things that you can do from these different sets and this different kind of motion than anyone else. We appreciate that. Kudos. Here's your gold star. Now simplify the goddamn thing and do what works.
So you think we can do that against Wisconsin this week? What is going to happen to our offense without an offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach? I mean, do you just cut those things out of your team? And
not only do we not have an offensive coordinator, we do not have a run game coordinator. Both of them were fired. Huh?
Tom Osborne did everything. He didn't even need other coaches, right?
No. Did he even have other coaches? I don't think Tom Osborne, he didn't have any assistants, for crying out loud. He ran the whole show. John, to be honest with you, I have no idea what to expect this weekend. I don't have a clue. And I read somewhere that, one of those, where they crunch a whole lot of numbers and, figure out what percentage chance the team has to win and all that kind of stuff. Sabermetric, whatever, hoo-ha. And I read something that Nebraska has a 66% chance of winning one of their final two games.
Well, that's pretty good.
Are you kidding me? If they win either of these games, Jiminy Christmas, give Scott Frost a raise. I mean, I don't know. I mean, John, when the bye week, when we moved into the bye week and Trev Alberts had his meeting with Scott Frost, and he pretty much signed off on Scott Frost dumping 4 coaches with 2 games left in the season. In my mind, that means those 2
You're just writing off the rest of the season.
Pardon?
You're just writing off the rest of the season.
Hell yeah. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Here's what I believe, though. We will see how committed the offensive players are to Scott Frost. We will see.
Oh, that's a good point.
We will see if they believe in him, if they trust him, based upon how hard they play, and do they commit in these next couple of games. As well as I do, when you get into any kind of an organization like that, especially when you're dealing with 18 to 23-year-olds, on a football team, their loyalty is always to their position coach, always. And
well, we've already lost Sevian Morrison, apparently the portal or the transfer portal.
Sounds like there might have been some other things going on there, maybe. But are you surprised? I'm not.
No, I mean I think he looked like a good back, but I think it also showed that Yant and oh come on, Ramir Johnson.
Yeah.
I think they both were doing better than he was. And you still have Gabe Irvin sitting out there somewhere.
You still have Gabe Urban out there, and you got Stepp at least in this season,
right?
And unless you're Minnesota, why would you need 5 running backs?
So we have no idea what's going to happen.
We're not to prediction time.
Okay.
I have a hard time believing that Nebraska is going to play well this week. I just don't know how. The defense maybe maybe as strong as they've been all season, but I just don't know.
I'll tell you how it's going to happen, Todd.
Tell me.
Adrian Martinez is going to go out in the first series. Nebraska is going to go 3 and out starting on offense. Wisconsin's going to get the ball, drive it down our throats, and go up 7-0. Adrian Martinez is going to turn to Scott Frost and say, "Fuck you, man. I'm calling plays." And he's going to go out and he's going to start zinging the ball all over the field. Just Omar Manning, Oliver Martin, Avante Brown, some guy we've never even heard from, Chancellor Brewington, Austin Allen. Boo! Would you? We're going to see an offensive genius come to the field named Adrian Martinez as he lights up Wisconsin for 450 yards in the first half.
What's the weather like in your world, John?
Well, the sun was blue today.
And I guess there's a difference between what I hope happens and what I think is going to happen. More than anything else, I hope that Nebraska shows up and plays like they did against Ohio State. I hope they do. And if they play as well as they played against Ohio State, they have a chance to beat Wisconsin. But Jiminy, the Nebraska hasn't won the physical part of the game against Wisconsin since before Bo Pelini. I mean,
yeah, we haven't won in Madison since 1643.
Yeah, and in 1643, you were just a twinkle in your mama's eyes. That's a long time ago, and
it is.
I don't know. Wisconsin, in my opinion, these are programs that are going in opposite directions, at least as far as this season is concerned. And there's,
Todd, if we win the next 2 games, we could get into a bowl game.
I understand that. I understand that we could, because, our team GPA is going to carry them to a bowl with a 5-7 record if they win them both. Okay. So I mentioned earlier that we had, this one guy or whatever computer says that they have a 66% chance of winning one of the last 2 games. Who do you think they have a better chance of beating, John? Wisconsin or Iowa? Iowa.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
Because their offense is terrible.
They are. But they also are using a new quarterback who seems to have injected a little bit of energy into that team. And as well as I do, at least one time, probably at least 2 times, they're going to run that zone running play, and those linemen are going to move in concert with each other and totally seal off the outside and that running back from Iowa is going to go for 70 yards. It's going to happen at least once.
Did you watch the Minnesota Iowa game?
I did not.
Oh my God. First of all, PJ Fleck should have won that game, but he didn't because he's a twit. I mean, he had momentum on his side. He lined up and tried to kick a 50-yard field goal.
Yep.
And he missed because they're not that good at kicking those types of field goals. And then he gives Iowa the ball at midfield, which might as well said, Iowa, here's your Christmas present so you can keep your lead. And then PJ gets toward the end of the game and he goes for it on a 4th down, like on his own 5. Do you know what Iowa did? Nothing. And they kicked the field goal, which gave him a chance to get the ball back and win the game. Some of the stuff that goes on in these football games is flabbergasting. I realized Kirk Ferentz hired his own son to run a really terrible offense, and they're playing this Padilla kid that's been better than Spencer Petras, but not really by much. No. So I don't know. I guess if we were going to win one of these 2 games, it'd have to be Iowa, just because it'd be the last game of the year. And at least you could go into the next, you could go on an up note, instead of we kept the coach in his 4th year who went 3-9.
Well, I just think that the difference is going to be where the game is played. The playing Wisconsin on the road up in Madison, we got Iowa at home. Even though they haven't beat Iowa at home the last couple of times they've played. And the last thing I want to see is some little 5'8" shithead kicker from Iowa running around. Well, and the kicker they have this year is from Lewis Central at Council Bluffs, so that makes it even worse. Prancing around the field, puffing his chest off because he kicks a 58-yard field goal to beat Nebraska at the end. But I don't know. I just it's the unknowns. We do not have any idea where the emotions are with the Nebraska football team right now, where their minds are at. We don't have a clue. And I think that we will learn very early in the Wisconsin game. I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. How strong are these offensive players committed to Scott Frost? How loyal are they to Scott Frost? Are they going to play for Scott Frost? We don't know.
Yeah. Well, you'd hope they would. Otherwise, we just put off this thing for a year.
Well,
speaking of putting things off for a year, did you see Kansas beat Texas?
Yes, I loved it.
God, that was beautiful.
The
entire nation was behind Kansas.
And, you just kept thinking, oh, my God, they're going to screw this up. Oh, Texas. And the beauty, could it have been any better than overtime? And they say, fuck it, we're going for 2.
Right.
And
then they throw the ball to a kid who hasn't even been in on offense all year.
Exactly. And just some stump of a fullback catches that. And you can see in the replay, he's looking that thing in. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And, they're coached by Lance Leopold, who, if you go back into the annals of Corn Nation, when Mike Riley was released, I think you'll find at least a few posts where Todd Wolverton advocated for Lance Leopold being the Nebraska football coach. But we'll never know how that would have turned out.
I think the interesting thing about that is a direct counter to all the people that go, if we fire Scott Frost, who's going to come and want to coach for Nebraska? Well, that guy went to Kansas.
See, and that's where I had an argument. Well, not an argument. I had a conversation with my mother who, she knows a little bit about football and she follows, and she's a good fan. But, we were talking about this whole coaching situation. And I said to her, Mom, he doesn't even have any of his own recruits there. She says, well, they haven't been that good this year. How can you say he's a good coach? I said, he didn't have any recruits. They hired him like in July.
Yeah.
And he showed up on campus and he has to put together a coaching staff. And, no, they've had a horrible season, but they just beat Texas. They beat Texas.
And who'd they have on the ropes earlier? Was it Oklahoma? Iowa State?
I think they played. They haven't played Iowa State. Yes, they did play Iowa State, and Iowa State beat them bad in Ames.
Remember they had, was it Oklahoma on the ropes, and there was an announcement that all the students could come into the stadium for free.
Yes,
and then
right.
And then they lost, and but those are, he has a win that's called a signature win that we don't have in 4 years with Scott Frost.
Absolutely true. And, you brought up Iowa State, what a frustrating loss for them. But, again, that was self-imposed. They were horrible in the first half. They let that game get away from them in the first half. Then they fought like hell to get back in it, tie the ball game up finally in the second half. And Texas Tech kicks a 62-yard field goal at the end to win it. And that destroyed any opportunity for Iowa State to get into the Big 12 playoff. I mean, the dream season with everybody coming back, that Fiesta Bowl championship team,
right?
That's not going to be that. They'll still, probably get a decent bowl bid, but, was there anything better last weekend than hearing fans cheering SEC, not only in Austin, Texas, but down in Waco when Baylor took it to Oklahoma? Fuck you, OU, and fuck you, Texas.
Both those guys, those teams going to the SEC. I'm glad Nebraska never went to the SEC.
Well, and here's what I hope. I hope that the Big 12, even though the Big 12 does have a plan for the future now, bringing in some more schools, I hope they don't let them walk out of the contract. I hope OU and Texas have to stay there for a couple of more years, or they force them to pay an exorbitant amount of money to get out of there.
Should we do predictions?
We can do predictions.
I was up till 11:30 p.m. last night working on a system that was failing miserably, and then I got up at 6 this morning and dealt with this work schedule has been hell.
Yeah, I know you've been really busy. I tell you what, I'm like I said, I'm out in Scotts Bluff, so I've got that hour differential. But to be honest with you, I've had 2 nights so far of the most sleep I've had in a long time, which has been kind of nice. But predictions: Wisconsin, Nebraska this weekend. I don't see how Nebraska wins. I wish I was more positive about it. Honestly,
do you think it'll be a blowout?
I don't think the defense will let it be a blowout.
Right.
I think I'm going to throw for the first time this year. First time. I do not see a team scoring 35 points.
Okay.
I think we're looking probably in the ballpark of 28-10.
Okay, so an 18-point win for Wisconsin.
I think so.
Okay, go ahead.
I just don't know. I don't know what the offense is going to do.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I did the Wisconsin podcast earlier, and what I said was Nebraska is going to come out having nothing to lose, and they're going to be wing-zing, and they were going to play aggressive. They're going to throw the ball all over the field. They're going to tear Wisconsin's defense up in a way they haven't seen all year, and Nebraska's going to win 35-10 or something like that. And then the guy goes, is it really? And I said, no, fuck, we're going to lose by 1 score, for God's sakes. What do you think? That's what we do. That's who we are.
That's who we are. So maybe I should.
Wisconsin is an 11.5 point favorite. So, it's probably going to be something like 24-17 Wisconsin. Maybe we can do something. I don't know. Maybe Graham Mertz will go back to being a turnover machine.
If the offense does come out like you described just a moment ago with a nothing to lose attitude, and I don't think they can zing it all over the place, but I think, who knows? But
who has Wisconsin played?
Nobody.
That is capable of Samare Torre. Remember the beginning of the Northwestern game? They just said balls out and bam, and good things happened early, and then good things kept happening. Well, who's Wisconsin played on defense, on offense, that is anywhere close to what we're capable of when we want to do that? When we don't have some puss boy holding back Adrian Martinez for being the quarterback he can really be, Todd.
Well, if I don't disagree with what you're playing, but is this going to be the Nebraska offense that we saw play against Ohio State? Is this going to be the Nebraska offense? What Nebraska offense is going to show?
We don't know, but neither does Wisconsin.
Well, you're right. But I still maintain
we can come out in a front that takes away a third of their playbook or most of their playbook.
Oh, how about two tight ends and Jacques Jan on the field? How about that? How about
that? And if Jan is the fullback?
No. With two tight ends, they don't need a fullback.
Oh yeah. What about 7 offensive linemen?
Ooh. What are you saying, PJ?
I think it's a Burt move. What if Adrian goes up to Scott right before the game and says, "It's time you start Logan, you son of a bitch."
The sun is blue in your world, John. Is that what you said earlier?
Hey, I think about all possibilities and all perspectives.
Well, I don't know. It would be wonderful to sit down on Saturday afternoon and watch Nebraska play an exciting, hard-fought game. And if they get beat by one score, so what else is new? I just don't have the positive vibe that that's going to happen.
What about Xavier Betts on repeated jet sweeps and we lead 42-10 at half?
If anybody knows how to defend the jet sweep, it's Wisconsin.
No, they don't. They just knew how to run it one time.
Greg has rejoined us via Slack, and he has offered his prediction, 28-24 Cornhuskers.
Oh, well, there you go. See, that's positive.
Greg tends to be, he's not an old and crotchety get off my lawn like the two of us. He's the eternal optimist.
I'm not old and crotchety.
I've been up since 11. I've been up till 11 o'clock. All those sons of bitches that I have to work with all these server issues and this cybersecurity stuff. If any of those CEOs had any fucking idea of what I have to do to make their companies work, by God, when you work with people that only hear what they want to hear, and they don't pay any attention to what I'm actually saying to them, how can you have any meaningful dialogue with people like that?
No, I never said any one of those things in public. Oh my God.
Truth hurts.
Okay.
Truth hurts, John. Truth hurts.
Well, God damn it.
I had to defend myself on Corn Nation last week. I was accused by one of our wonderful Iowa Hawkeye fans that joins us on a regular basis of being a communist because you've labeled me as such. That I came from the People's Republic of China. I had to remind them I'm not a communist. I'm a socialist. There's a difference there.
Oh my God. That's only a fine line there. Did I give a prediction? We gave predictions.
You gave a prediction. You said something like 24-17 is what you said.
Yeah, something like that.
And I'm saying 20 and I'm saying 28-10.
Okay.
So I guess what I'm saying is that Wisconsin will cover. You're saying they won't.
Right. I don't know how people bet on this stuff with the without going, I'm throwing my money away.
I'll tell you what, the way the NFL looked last week, if you holy moly, you talk about chaos. It's not just Division I college football. That's been a little bit crazy this year. Jon, we should probably wrap it up. We're kind of drolling on and on. There are 2 more games left, and I'm a Nebraska football fan, just like you, Jon, and just like so many other people in this state. I am excited to watch our team play again. It's frustrating that we only have a couple of more games that we do get to see them play each year. The one thing for sure about the Nebraska Cornhusker fans is that we invest in our team, and we want to see them play. We want to see them play well. It's important to the entire state, and hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully my prediction's wrong. I would love nothing more to see our boys walk out of Camp Randall Stadium with a win. Hope they can do it. It would be wonderful if they can. And that would also send a message that, you know what, maybe we are close, like is so often close. So anyway, I think we're going to wrap it up, everyone. This is Todd Wolverton, your host for this evening on the 5 Heart podcast, where we want to remind you that 5 hearts are all the hearts you need. And I've really butchered that. That just really sucked for a sign off. So I'm going to say to you, Jon.
Believe in Fred. Go Big Red.
I like that, Jon. Believe in Fred.
Yeah, I had the there is no hope, fuck everything, go Big Red. So I'm going to come up with something for basketball.
Believe in Fred, go Big Red.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until the season, unless the season goes really horrible, then it'll be
Fred is dead.
I wasn't going there, but go ahead, just boom. You just
maybe
maybe
I should be a little more cautious because we are dealing with a guy with a heart issue.
Yeah.
So not so funny. Go Big Red.
Okay. Is that it? That's it.